This is the solutions to the functional skills June 2017 level 1 test paper that was given out in February, and students have had a go at answering that in a mock test condition. If you look at the test paper, obviously we begin with question 1. I'm just going to go through quickly one possible way of solving this question. With all of these solutions, bear in mind there's more than one possible correct answer, but I'm going to try and give the simplest and most straightforward one. Right, so Clive is planning a holiday to Ireland. He will take a flight from Manchester to Cork. The table shows information about flights from Manchester to Cork. And as you can see, there is a table included here. Table's got dates. It's got departure times for the flights, arrival times, and ticket prices. Clive wants to have a flight that departs after 6 p.m. and it needs to be on the 14th or 15th of July. So the best way to answer a question like this is a process of elimination. You remove all the flights that you can't possibly choose. So if it needs to be the 14th or 15th, anything on the 13th therefore would be of no use, and anything on the 16th would also be of no use. We're left with the 14th and the 15th. Also, this bit of information here, 6 p.m. needs to be after 6 p.m., which is the same as, hopefully some of you know, 1800. So we can eliminate all the ones that are not after 1800. So that would include eliminating this one. You'd remove this one here and also this one here, which would leave you with two possible answers, and that would be the 14th of July, the 8:55, or the 15th of July at 8:55. Now, if you look at the question, he also says he wants to pay the least amount possible. So the prices for those two flights are £89.99 and £114.99. Well, we know which one's cheaper. It's the £89.99 one. It says here, write the date and departure time of the flight you've chosen. So you need to write the date, which is 14th July. You need to write the departure time, 8:55, and that is the answer to the question. So, how do I pause it for a second?
You just click on it.
So that's question 1 answered, or 1 part A. The next question is also about Clive. Clive is planning a trip from Cork to Dublin. He will stop at Tipperary, Galway, Moher on his way to Dublin. Clive does not mind in which order he stops at each of these 3 places. He draws this sketch of the places and the distances between them. So Clive wants to plan the route for his trip. So what it does say, go back to the first paragraph, make sure you read this again, otherwise you will be confused. It says he wants to stop basically at all the cities on his way to Dublin, and he's starting from Cork. So we know we're starting at Cork, we're going to end at Dublin, we're going to visit all the cities in between, and it doesn't matter which order he stops in. So the best thing to do is just draw some lines to show you the route that he takes. So a line like this one here, and not that one. A line going down here. Okay, now you also need to actually write out the names of the cities and the order in which you're travelling. So you need to go, say, Cork to Tipperary, and you need to say how many miles that is. That is 52 miles. Put that in brackets like this. Then we need to say Tipperary to Moher, which is 68. Then we have Moher to Galway. There's different ways you could write this out. You could I suppose, create a table for this information. You could have starting, ending destination, and the distance between them. But just listed like this with arrows between them is perfectly fine. Okay, and now obviously you want to work out, as it says, the total distance. Total means add them all up. So you've got a calculator, which is what I use because even me, I don't want to make mistakes. Best to use a calculator. 295 miles. Okay, moving on to question 2. So question 2 is what we call a function machine question. Function machines are a bit like conveyor belts in factories. What I mean by that is when you have a conveyor belt in a factory, you put something in at the beginning and you expect to get something out of the end. So maybe you put in here, you put potatoes, and out here you get crisps, something like this. Okay? Function machines are actually really straightforward. They're good questions because they're always the same. You start with whatever it says in the box here, so the amount in pounds, 115. You carry out this operation next, this operation afterwards, and then you end up with your answer, in this case, in euros. Okay, so let's deal with the actual question before we use the function machine. What we're saying is that in the UK, the cost of fuel in the UK is £1.15 for a litre of petrol. What they're also saying is in Ireland, a litre of petrol is 1.32, but this time it's in euros. They want to know which one's more expensive. Well, you can't compare apples and pears. You can't compare pounds and euros without knowing or without converting one to the other. So what we need to do is we need to convert the amount in pounds, 115, to euros, and then we can compare it to the Irish price in euros. So all we need to do is use a calculator. The amount in pounds goes in here. So in this bit here, amount in pounds, divide it by 5, times it by 6, and you end up with 1.38, which means that £1.15 is the same as €1.38. And hopefully you can tell that €1.38 is more expensive than €1.32, which means that the UK is more expensive, and that is what Clive said. So yes, Clive is correct. Do not forget that in a lot of these questions you need to answer in words. It's a functional skills test, which means applying it to everyday scenarios. And normally, if someone says, can you afford to go to the cinema? You don't say £7.50, you say yes or no. So language is important. Question 3, Clive plans to walk with a friend along the cliffs of Moher. Clive wants to carry a total of at least 3 litres of liquid to drink on the walk. He has 2 large bottles of water, 750ml each. He has 2 small bottles of water, 500ml each, 2 cans of soft drink at 330ml each. Does Clive have a total of 3 litres of liquid? Right, hopefully your teacher will have emphasised with you the need to recognise when there's different units in a question. And here you can see we have millilitres, but here they want us to work with litres. So this is what we call a metric conversion question, and they happen again pretty much on every test paper. So what we need to do is we need to work out 2 bottles of water, 750ml comes to 1,500ml. Then we've got 2 bottles at 500ml each, which comes to 1,000 millilitres ml. Then we've got 2 cans of soft drink of 330 each. So 2 300s is 600 and 2 30s is 60. So we've got 660ml. You need to then add all of those together, and you should find yourself with, what do we end up with? We end up with 60. We got 1, carry the 1 over. So we should end up with 3,160 millilitres. He wants to know that's the same as 3 litres. So you need to know something, and that is 1,000 millilitres equals 1 litre. So to go from litres to millilitres, you times by 1,000. Okay, so that means 3 litres equals 3,000 millilitres, and you have 3,160 millilitres. So Clive does have at least 3 litres. He has more than that. So yes, Clive has at least 3 litres. There we go. So the second part to that question, there is a footpath along the cliffs of Moher. The length of the footpath is 24 kilometres. Clive and his friend walk a distance of 16 kilometres along the path. Clive says, we have walked 3/4 of the length of the footpath. Is 3/4 of the length of the footpath 16 kilometres? Right, so there's a couple of different ways of answering this. The first method, simplest method, is to say literally what is 3/4 of 24. Now to do a fractional amount, you do the amount divided by the bottom, which gives us 6, and then 6 times by the top gives us 18. Well, 18 is not the same as 16, so the answer is no, that's wrong. It's not 3/4. You could do it another way, and you could say 16 out of 24, because that is the fraction of the amount that he's travelled. Is that equal to 3/4? And the answer is no, it's not equal to 3/4. So there's a couple of different ways of answering that question. I think the first is definitely the easiest. Just find 3/4 of 24 and check whether that's the same as 16. And we said it wasn't, so no. It's the answer to that question. Quite importantly, on the next page, it says show a check. Okay, a lot of students miss these on the tests, and they're worth about 4 marks. Often the difference between passing and failing is noticing the check questions. All it means is you look at the question you just answered and do one of your calculations in reverse. So let's pick this question here, this part of the question here. 24 divided by 4 equals 6. In reverse, that simply means start with your answer of 6, do the inverse function of divide, which is multiply, by 4, and that should give us 24, which is good because that's what it said here. So that's a check. You're just doing something backwards.